Claire Chandler is a fantastic human. I really enjoyed talking with her in this episode because she is struggling with a problem that agency owners and entrepreneurs struggle with a lot, which is giving up control. And it's hard because you know that you're going to do it right. You know that you're going to execute at a high level, and bringing someone else on board, either in a freelance capacity, part-time, or full-time, is always scary. But it's work that's worth doing, and it's necessary. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Claire, so excited to have you here. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. All right, so we were talking a bit offline, and you said, hey, the biggest problem you're experiencing in your business right now is that you don't want to grow this thing too big, too fast. How do you essentially grow without breaking? Do you want to give us some details of what you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a solopreneur. And it's funny, right before we started recording this, you said, talk about yourself, talk about your business. You can do one or the other. So I kind of straddle the line between two brands. I formed my company, Talent Boost, in 2013. Because I think when I first started out, because I came out of corporate, I know a lot of solopreneurs that do, right? And in the beginning, it was like, well, who's going to hire just Claire Chandler, right? So I felt like I had to have this brand that I could stand behind or stand upon and whatever. And it has served me well. I still have that brand. The bigger organizations that I serve as clients tend to feel more comfortable paying invoices to Talent Boost versus to Claire Chandler. So it certainly serves that purpose as well. But as I've gotten more comfortable, more niched down, more confident in what I do and who I do it for and how I do it, I've really kind of circled back to my own personal brand, Claire Chandler. So I have both websites. I have talentboost.net. I have clairechandler.net. The clairechandler.net is really kind of front and center now for me as my client-facing brand and my audience-facing brand. But even as I say that, right, as a solopreneur, I kind of have a foot in each one, which I think compounds a little bit the challenge around how do you scale. First of all, as a solopreneur, how do I continue to do what I do and bring the magic in ways that I can continue to evolve and enhance and grow what I do and how I bring it, kind of to life with my clients, without diluting my effectiveness, without burning myself out. I had corporate for that. Don't need to do that again, right? So how do I do all of those things and continue to grow in ways that amplify me, my message, and my impact, rather than dilute those things?
Right. Beautiful. Awesome. I love this.
So fix that. Great.
All right. So, do you want to have staff? You've been doing the solopreneur thing for a decade now. Is that even a thing that you want to do, which is grow a team around
you? If you asked me that a few years ago, it was a resounding no.
Yeah.
The more I have kind of elevated my game and expanded the scale and the scope of what I do for clients, the more I am coming to find that that's the biggest part that holds back my ability to grow even more, right? It's that I'm everything. I'm the practitioner, I'm the thought leader, I'm the accountant, I'm the marketer, I'm the personnel department, right? I'm the billing clerk. I'm all of those things, as well as the appointment setter, the travel arranger. It's all of those things. So I think I'm coming back around to truly elevate what I want to do and really sort of focus my time and attention on more of the thought leadership. And then, of course, the interface with the client on the actual strategy and delivery of the stuff. That's where I want to focus. And in order to do that in a scalable way, I think I have to let go of the other stuff. That's hard to say, right? Because we solopreneur, I mean, I'm sure you're the same way. Like we're control freaks. So it's hard to let that go.
Yeah. When I went from being a solopreneur to having employees, I started to ask myself the question, what are the things that I want to get off my plate first? What's going to free me up to do the best work possible for clients and for the agency that I started? So when you think about that, what are the things, what is the work that lights you up? What are the things that you think, man, only Claire can do those right now? What are some of those things, those tasks or those items?
Yeah. So so the things that only I can do in the way that I do it is really around both the what I'll call the client delivery. And that gets to be a little bit more, I don't want to say tactical, because there's a strategic element to the way that I facilitate strategic planning sessions and leadership retreats and coaching programs, both cohort and individual. All of that I love. That's the stuff that lights me up. The fact that we are now kind of past the worst, I'm going to knock wood when I say that, of the pandemic, and we can, now be in the same room with clients again. And it's funny because I always joked that, during the pandemic, I was an introvert. So I've been training my whole career for this, right? That I didn't have to actually go in front of people, but that's where I get my energy, like being on a stage or being in the room with a group of leaders and helping them get over and past what is holding them back from really growing their business in the right way. That's the stuff I love. And all the stuff that leads up to that, the logistics of that, the mapping out the travel arrangements, the setting up of rooms, the setting up of communications, all of the things that if I had another me who was just doing the tactical transactional baseline work, I could leave that behind and trust it with the other Claire, and then go off and do the client delivery. And then there's the other piece that even more uniquely only I can do, which is I sort of refer to myself as a leadership therapist. So I'm not a licensed, trained, medically, qualified therapist per se. But my best clients, the executives, have come to rely on me, and I'm the person they call first thing in the morning when they didn't sleep the night before because there's something weighing on them, and before they go into the office they need to unload it. Or I'm the one they call on their drive home when they say, I just need to unpack this because I can't share it with my fellow C-level leaders because we're supposed to act like we've got it all together. I can't say it in front of my own team because it's going to scare them that I don't have all the answers. So you're it, right? And there's no formula to that. There's no framework to that. It's literally just continuing to draw upon that relationship that we have built up through good work, yes, but through also that trust and that equity. And that's something that I can't give up. I can't delegate, and I don't want to,
Yeah. What you love. So one of the best gifts that I ever gave myself early on in my entrepreneurial journey, Claire, in my first business, was I hired a personal assistant. And I had somebody say to me, hey, Dave, they're not going to be as good as you. They're just not, because and like you, Claire, like you're prolific at what you do. You've been doing this 10 years on your own, like you've been doing, that's okay. Can you find someone that's at least 80% of you in the billing, accounts payable, booking of flights, setting up your hotel, and they're going to get to know you, and they're going to say, okay, Claire likes to have flights that leave no earlier than 7 a.m. I have no idea if this is true, right? But like, and she wants to sit in the window aisle or the window seat, like in the 20s, or, or she books only first class, whatever that is. Someone that can get to know you and get to know your clients and actually becomes an extension of you, someone that can help you do some fundamental tasks of prospecting, right? Because I'm not sure what your prospecting process looks like. But I know a lot of people, they're like, hey, I go on LinkedIn, I find people that tend to look like the right customer, they have the right number of employees, they've got the right size, maybe you've got a database. Man, an assistant can just go through and log into your LinkedIn and start connecting with those people. They don't have to message them. but they can just connect with them. Well, that saves you time. That saves you hours. Now you have more connections. You have more opportunities to reach out, and they could even give you a report every week. Hey, here's the list of people that I connected with. I would love it if you send them a message. Someone that keeps you on track and that takes the admin work out of it. Make sure that you have all the materials that you need for the meetings that you're having would be tremendous. And the reality is, because the world did change during the pandemic, if you wanted that person to be remote, you totally could. And what you pay them could be far less because they live in an area where it's not expensive. So you could pay someone 40 grand a year to work for you full time. And if they're living in Michigan, in a Midwest state, in a Southern state, that's going to spend pretty far. It's one of the reasons why we do remote work for all of our companies that we can. There's only one that we can't, because it's a flight school. And what are you going to, you have to be there to fly the planes.
Yeah, we haven't figured out how to travel as holograms of ourselves just yet.
Just yet. Yeah. So close. But yeah, I mean, what would is that something that you think would be feasible, is to find someone that you could bring in, like in a position like that? Would that be financially viable? Would that be viable in your mind, or do you have resistance towards that?
My resistance, because of course I do, right? Because again, as I said before, I'm a control freak. So my resistance is not financial. It's, will I truly let go of enough, first of all, to justify like a full-time personal assistant?
Sure.
But there's also, like one of the things I think is a myth, and I'm going to be the first to admit it, is that a personal assistant is not going to be at the level that I need, right? Because part of what I really enjoy, and what kind of elevates me out of just the echo chamber of working on my own and being a solopreneur and only hearing my own voice in my head, or yes, I talk to myself sometimes as I'm thinking things through, is having that other sort of thought partner for me, right? Like I specialize in being a thought partner to executive leaders, but I don't necessarily have that thought partner for me. Yes, I have business mentors, and yes, I have, coaches that have helped me evolve over these 10 years. But there's sort of a hybrid here, right? Like there's somebody that I can kind of like not even check in with, but kind of start my week with, and have a conversation that says, okay, here's what I'm seeing for the week. Here's where I need to get to by the end of the week. Here's the pieces that just in talking them through unlock some things for me and help prioritize. And then in the talking it out through that sounding board, I can say, okay, these are the pieces I need you to take and run with. Or they can say, after a while, after we get into a rhythm, leave that piece with me. You focus on that. Let's reconnect in 2 days, because it also keeps me accountable, right? So there's sort of this, let me lift the things that you don't need to be worried about, but do it in ways where you still hold yourself accountable through the checking in with another person.
Yeah. You can
Does that make sense?
100%. And you can find those people for under 50 grand a year. They exist. I hire them. They work for me now. And they're amazing people that, so you interact with my assistant, Evie. I don't do any of the admin. She handles our account payable, our accounts receivable. She talks to clients. She talks to podcast guests. She books my travel. She handles vendors. So right now she's dealing with a vendor who's going to be filming and doing photographs of a TEDx talk that I'm giving this week. She's handling all these things while I'm having a conversation with you, because this is what I love. And no one else can do this thing, right? At least not in the way that I would want it done.
Right. Right.
But she knows how to handle that. And there are ways that she goes about sending out emails that the tone is different than what the tone that I would use. And I've just learned to let go. Not everything is going to sound like me 100% of the time. But is she professional? Absolutely. Does she do the job? Yes. And then one of the things that we've figured out, just to echo this back to you, Claire, because I think that it could be really powerful, we have a meeting cadence for every company. It's the exact same. Have you heard of EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system?
Mm-hmm.
So we use that in all the companies. So every every Wednesday for the parent company, we have an L10 meeting. It's 90 minutes. Evie's in that room. She's taking notes. She's setting up to-dos. And it's a whole host of us talking. The other thing that we do is every single morning at 9:15 Central, 10:15 Eastern, we run all the companies off Central Time, even though everybody's remote. We have a stand-up. We just go, hey, what's happening today? And Evie will run through the list of things that she has, and then we go around the room. There's multiple people in the room, so it makes sense. And we go, okay, well, what about this? And what about that? And we've got this thing rolling out and that thing rolling out. So what does that look like? And sometimes it's like, okay, that's great. Let's go. And you can find someone who will make your life easier, better. And yes, letting go of the vine, to use an EOS term, 100,000% something that you're going to struggle with. And then it's going to be so good. Because I guarantee if you do this, and I'd love to circle back around with you in like 6 months if you actually do this.
See, already that accountability piece, right?
Yeah. You're going to say things like, oh my word, Dave, I have time. I sold more new business this past quarter than I have in any other quarter previous. And it's not going to be because you're any better than you were. You just had more time. You're going to show up better for your clients. It's going to be a different communication. Just because you went, okay, I'm going to let somebody else help me. And that's vulnerable. Like, let's be real with everybody. Like, that is vulnerable to say, I need help. Yep. And it's also going to be how you grow this. Do you have thoughts? Because this is important. What are your thoughts about, like, what do you do with Talent Boost when you decide that you are done with it? Do you want to sell it? Do you let that thing just die? What is your process there?
Well, that's kind of the big question, right? Because I am still a solopreneur behind the brand of Talent Boost, it's not really currently positioned to be sellable, right? So when I'm done doing whatever, like, it literally would, in theory, if I keep it going, as long as I keep my personal brand going, then they will both shut down when I'm ready to, step back from doing what I do. Now, can I envision not doing what I do anytime soon? Of course not. But to your point, like, I never, 10 years ago, right? September, it's going to be the 10-year anniversary of opening the virtual doors of Talent Boost, right? I never envisioned creating it so that I could sell it.
Right.
But I'm at this point where it's not that I need to, I want to scale my impact. I want to scale what I do. I want to do all the great things I do with my most favorite clients more and for more of them. Well, the only way to do that, other than cloning me, is to automate or delegate, or as other people have said, detonate, right? So yeah, I mean, I think if you were to ask me 6 months from now, what steps did I take as a result of this conversation? And did they start to put in, some of that system and that scalable foundation, and ask me what I intend to do with Talent Boost? I think I would have a clearer idea of, okay, now I can see how I could put that into a position to sell it at some point in the future.
I think that this is a really beautiful conversation too, Claire, because having this thought of, okay, you will get to a point, could be in 2 years, could be in 20, but you're going to get to the point where you don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not, it's just because something changed. It's not because this work is wrong or it's just something changed. And so if you can take this and get it to a point where you go, okay, what would I need to do to scale this and then sell it? And even if you sold it for, I'm putting in this in quotes, a modest amount, because it's still a great sales price. Even if you sold it for $500K, right? Because you're able to build it up to that point, it's still worth 500,000 more than it is right now to the next person. So I think that it would be really interesting if you hired this assistant, you got some more time and space, and then you just went away for a weekend and you thought, what do I want? Because when's the last time you asked yourself the question, what do I want long term? I think for a lot of people, it's been a while. I'm curious what it is for you.
It's not often. I mean, sometimes I don't want to say sometimes. I typically will do that, look back and then look ahead around the turn of the year, right? So just like with my clients, most of them are on a calendar year performance review. I typically will use that opportunity to take some stock and say, how did this past year go? Did I achieve what I set out to achieve? How do I feel about that? And then what does next year look like? But to be completely honest with you, I don't know the last time I looked farther ahead than 1 year to the next. Maybe I did a 3-year projection, but it was really more pie in the sky, quite honestly. And it's so funny, right? The cobbler's children have no shoes. I mean, I have this conversation with my clients all the time.
All the time.
5-year outcomes.
Yep.
Do I do the same for me?
No,
not typically.
Right. Yeah. But you know how powerful that is for organizations to do and for individuals to do for themselves. And so, enjoy your own medicine, drink your own Kool-Aid, right? Like,
right. Absolutely.
And I think that when you do this, it will bring about new questions. Like, you're going to ask yourself different questions. So the new questions that you'll start to ask, if you look 5-10 years ahead, is, okay, how do I get to that? Like, how do I get to the point where I have other people that can do some of this work? And if you want to work with me, Claire, then I'm 3x more expensive than my staff.
Right.
And so then you get some time back, or maybe you're like, you know what? I don't want that. I just want them to work with the staff, and they'll get some of me when they're in crisis, when they have an issue, or if they're just a really large account for us overall. Because then it changes your life too. One of my favorite things to say is, I can take a vacation for a month. I've done this before. I come back, we have more clients. We didn't lose more than we gained, right? Yeah. And the team is just fine. Nothing's on fire. Everything's cool. And so when you can do that, what you've built is a business that's an asset, instead of, and this is not to be mean, Claire, I love you very much.
No, do it. Fire away.
Instead of trading one boss for multiple bosses, which is what you have right now. And it's a challenge for you to, I'm assuming, it's a challenge for you to take an extended amount of vacation. It's a challenge for you to have an off day when you're just like, I just need to take a personal day. No, you can't. And this is what changes when you start to build a team around you. You want to go for a walk in the woods? You can. You need to take some vacation? Go for it. And you have a steady stream of income that's not just dependent upon you, your blood, sweat, and tears, your intelligence, your charisma. Those things, of course, will help, but it's not all on you. And I'm so excited for your next chapter. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely, I kind of want to peek ahead around the corner, right? And sort of see where things continue to evolve. But yeah, I mean, I think this conversation is very timely, and I think your questions are right on target. You know, these are the things that I need to be asking and answering of myself, right? And really just sort of making some decisions around it and then acting in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know how to do this because you do it with other people.
Of course. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I love it. Well, Claire, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to check out more about you or go find you somewhere, where can they do that?
Easiest place to go is my website. As I mentioned, I have two, but really go to the clairechandler.net, or you can find me hanging out on LinkedIn. That's where I post most of my content.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and cheering you on.
Thank you. It was great talking to you.